This is the enlarger that we're all familiar with. So just to run you through some of its functions, this one has got a built-in timer. We've got a red, white and green button here. Now the red button turns the enlarger off, and you should hear that click and it should be all off. The other two buttons, they can work in tandem, as in together. So if I push both of these buttons down, we can see that my enlarger is just on, and it will remain on as long as those two buttons are depressed. With one off again, and then the green one on its own will make the timer work, and you can see here the timer is just set for 2 seconds, and that is easily movable to be adjusted to whatever you want. Down here is a ×1 setting. That means that it's working on seconds. If that is accidentally flipped, you will see that it is on much longer, as that is now on for 20 seconds because it's ×10. So today we're going to be working with the negative tray because we are going to get some prints from our homemade negatives. Functions on this side of the enlarger are the focusing knob, which is just here and here. This one controls the height of the enlarger. This one actually gives you a much more refined focus. Sometimes they have a smaller dial here as well, which allows for even finer focal points onto the surface. The red filter here you can use when you are setting up, so you can get your light sensitive paper down on the surface and your red filter is covering the light as long as you depress the two buttons. You can see that there's a rosy glow there where my filter is covering the light source. Never take the negative tray out while the enlarger on. What it does is it causes a light leak, and your partners either side of you are going to get their paper fog, which is a grey fog that rolls across the paper because the light is so gentle. It just means that you don't get any white and your contrast is always going to be off. Make sure that if you are taking your negative tray out, your enlarger is off. So we've got a couple of homemade negatives here that we're going to be trying out, but the first one is this grass there's quite a lot of empty space in that homemade negative, and I am just going to pop that in to the enlarger, as you can see there. Right, my enlarger is set at 5.6, so I've got a middle aperture, and you can see quite clearly here the numbers are there. So I've got medium light. We can see that we have got the silhouette of the grass coming through, but it's slightly unfocused. So I'm just going to take this moment in time to make sure that it is in sharp focus by turning the focusing handle. I'm very happy with that currently. Into dark light conditions, so we've got the red light on, and we can see as we walk up to the enlarger, I have got a very clear picture of the grass. Now it might need 1 or 2 additional bits of focus, so that is now in sharp focus. If your homemade negative is very layered and quite high, as in you've got a lot of stuff in it, there might be a range of tonal layers within this, focal layers in this, and it might mean that one area is out of focus and one area is in focus, but this is pretty much flat. So at this point I have cut my test strips, and my test strips mean that I am going to be able to see what time I should expose my piece to light to. And this is really important. Don't skip the test strip section. So I've just laid my test strip down there. It's shiny side up, and I've made sure that actually it's got the most interesting section that I am using. So I've got my red filter on. It is on a 5.6, so I'm going to turn my enlarger off. I've set it to 1 second now rather than 2. I'm going to lay my card over the top of my test strip, and I am just depressing the timer. So I am turning my timer on after I've removed my red filter. So I've just removed my red filter and I turn it on for 1 second. I'm going to pick my card up and I'm going to move it across. I press it again for 1 second. Keep your little ladder as tight as possible, please. I am then going to press it again, and I can move it across 4 or 5 times, making sure that my card is actually touching the surface. Now I've exposed it, I'm going to walk over to the developing tray. It's got to go into the developing tray all at once. We can see that it's in there. Now, as it begins to develop, you need to make sure that it is fully immersed in the developer, and the wall says that it needs to be in the developer for 2 minutes, in the stop for 1, and in the fix for 2 to 5. There are the different tongs as well, so just make sure that you are using the tongs that haven't got the metal sections on them. The tongs need to stay in their original trays as well.